There are 3 points that I would like to make. Firstly, I think the biggest confusion has been caused by the UIDAI itself. On the 14th of June 2017, the UIDAI issued a notification which is the basis for coercing banks to set up enrollment centers in order to allow citizens to get an Aadhar number. I think firstly, there is no provision in the Aadhar Act to have the UIDAI force anybody to set up an enrollment center. It's because that this threat was made that if you do not set up an enrollment center, we will punish you under Section 42 of the Aadhar Act, which means that a fine of about 2 lakh rupees and imprisonment will be imposed on the branch managers, is why the banks are actually coercing customers to ensure that Aadhar numbers are provided. Because if they have 100% compliance, they imagine that they can actually show that we don't need to set up an enrollment center. So I think it's very simple that the UIDAI has been pushing the banks. The basis that the UIDAI cites are 3 things. The first thing it says that, under the Aadhar Act itself, we can ask you to set up an enrollment center. This is completely wrong, because the 12A amendment in the Aadhar enrollment regulations is completely illegal.
Yes.
It is based on Section 54N, 1N of the Aadhar Act. And Section 54(1)(n) of the Aadhar Act actually allows them to set up terms and conditions to be set up with those who are going to serve as enrollment centers.
On which?
So by no stretch of imagination can you actually use terms and conditions to force somebody to open an enrollment center or make rules to force somebody to open an enrollment center. A custodian of identities of all the citizens or all the residents of India, if they cannot understand the law and they cannot understand how to actually implement the law of the land, I don't think they are capable of being custodian of anything. So this is point number 1 that the UIDAI is saying.
Yes.
The point number 2 that the UIDAI is making is that there is provision under the Aadhar Act to actually take the Aadhar number and information and store it. There is no such provision in the Aadhar Act. In the Aadhar Act, there is no provision
No, but Anupam Saraph, I'm sorry, I want to keep this on point, which is simply the RBI's press release of linking Aadhar to our bank accounts. Because there are so many, the Aadhar debate is so large that we get derailed every time we bring it up. I'm just sticking to this one point.
Yes.
If you will debate so many
the PMLA,
issues,
the prevention.
you will confuse your viewers.
So the Prevention of Money Laundering Act.
Mr. Agarwal, with all
so
due
the
respect,
Prevention of
it is the
Money
government
Laundering
that is
Act.
confusing my viewer and not the show. But I have a couple of...